Welcome to the Talent Show. How you doing, world? Good to see you. I'm so ecstatic to be here. It's been a very blessed week, and I hope all is well on your end as well. As always, I want to say thank you for supporting me, supporting my dream. My journey has been marvelous to be here now on episode 8 of season 4. We're going through the motions, and I'm enjoying every single episode. I'm enjoying every single conversation. So let's continue to do that. And let's introduce our guest for this week, Miss Shanae Govan-Williams.
Hey.
Coach, first of all, thank you for joining me. I know our time consumings have been hard to kind of mesh together, but how are you doing? How's everything going in your world right now?
First, let me thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I know we've been trying to do this for quite a while, but I appreciate you for being patient with my schedule. But I'm doing well. Season is officially over. But it's going well. Still very busy, but things are well. Family's good and players are good, so we're good.
I want to get to that real quick, but before, I love for my guest coach to give the watching audience and the listening audience to give a brief little introduction about yourself so they can get comfortable real quick for who you are. So if you don't mind, could you share like where you're from, what you do now, and just some things you've been able to do in your lifetime to help you get where you are today?
Sure. So I'm originally from Crossett, Arkansas. Very small town at the border, the bottom border of the state. It's in southeast part of Arkansas. It's neighboring to Hamburg, Arkansas. Everybody knows Hamburg for that being the hometown of Scottie Pippen. So yeah, that's where I'm from. I played basketball all my life, played at Delta State. I started off at Arkansas Tech, then I transferred. Never desired to be a coach. I majored in social work, thought I was going to be a counselor, but God had other plans. And so I've been a head basketball coach for the past 10 years. The first 9 years, I was a high school coach. I started off at Lee Academy, which is a private school here where I'm coaching it now. Did 3 years there. And then I went to my alma mater, Crossett High School, was there for 4 years. And then after that, I was at 3 different high schools in 3 years. So I was at Magnolia High School, Bryant High School, and now I am at Coahoma Community College in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Along with coaching, I'm also a motivational speaker. I'm a 4-time published author, and I am a founder of a mentoring group called Level Up Empowerment. And it basically targets teenage girls from ages 13 to 17, just helping them to understand many things about their self-worth and just helping them on their journey of discovering who they are as young women. But it's essentially based off of, our walk with Christ. Because for me, growing up, I grew up in poverty, didn't have much, but my mom was a big faith person, but very spiritual. And so as I began to grow and go through adversity, I'm going to be honest, like my relationship with God and my love for basketball were just the foundations of who I am today.
Coach, talk about your commitment and how you got to where you are now at Coahoma Community College. And now that you're finished with year 1, what has your journey and your first year at your new school been like for you?
So it's funny because I've always had the desire to be a college coach. I just didn't know that it would unfold the way it did. Again, I coached high school for 9 years. And so when this opportunity came open, I was kind of reluctant because you know how that self-doubt sometimes comes in. Like, I've never coached college. Like, I played, but I've never coached. So I had a lot of insecurities, but what God has for you is for you. And I'm a firm believer where he guides us, he also provides us with the necessary tools that we need. And so coming to Coahoma, it's a HBCU, it's on a small campus, it's a JUCO. So I've been fortunate to make a lot of connections with a lot of people, primarily because I used to live here. I started my coaching career here. So it's just amazing how God strategically brought me back to this town. That's been so good to me. But for me, when I got here, it's crazy because, like I said, the roster was already set. The previous coach, she did a great job of recruiting and all those things. But when you think about taking over a program, it's like, okay, I'm stepping into not only something that's not familiar, but also with a group of young ladies who don't know me. I haven't had time to build relationships and, to watch them play. So I knew that I was strategically going to have to follow the plan of God. And so this year has been amazing. 9 freshmen and 1 sophomore. And the conference is tough. We have 3 nationally ranked teams in our league. So for us to finish 17-8, Finished fourth overall. This being my first year as a college coach, it was nothing but the hand of God. And so I've just been fortunate to and reluctant to coach these young ladies because they believed in me, knowing that I didn't have any college experience. And so I'm just grateful for the opportunity, and I'm so excited about the future. And for me also too, it just highlights just the beauty and, us trusting God and knowing that He's going to give us every tool that we need, no matter, where we go, no matter the seat that we're sitting in. We just got to trust Him. So that's literally what this opportunity has been. Nothing but a faith walk. And it's been beautiful. If somebody would have told me we would have finished 17-8 and finished fourth overall and made it to the Elite Eight of the regional tournament before I took this job, I would have laughed. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it was much of a high expectation. And I don't think it's just because this was my first year, but also to the other things that came with it. Having a very young team, that none of my players except for one had any college experience playing. So, it was a lot of learning curves, but the girls bought in. They trusted myself and my assistant coach. And so, we were able to walk on uncharted waters. So it's been good.
That's amazing. I want to jump back to your upbringing. I have always been in loving of talking to people from Arkansas. I'm from Little Rock, but I grew up in Monticello, not far from Crossett.
Yeah.
What was growing up in Crossett like for you? Where did your love from basketball and general sports come from? So what was growing up in Crossett like, and where did your love for sports come from?
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. Like, growing up in Crossett, it was good, small town, but not much to do. But I have a twin brother, and so my love for sports came from my stepdad. He was a different guy, but one thing that he did, he introduced me to basketball. I've always been short. I've always had a chip on my shoulders, but he helped me build that grit, that toughness that carried me on later as I began to play collegiately. But like growing up in Crossett, it was good. Everyone knows everybody. It's close, It's small town. So not much to do. But I think honestly, like that played in my favor because we didn't have many distractions. And I think too, nowadays, social media is so crazy, but we'll get off into that in a minute. But just growing up in Crossett, it was a good experience. One thing that we didn't have that I hate is like, we didn't have much exposure. So I was ranked as the number 2 point guard in the state. But coming out of high school, like, I didn't have many offers. Yeah. I really didn't have any. I had interest, but I didn't have many. I had offers in track. I was good in track, but my love was for basketball. And so I ended up going to try out at Arkansas Tech University and got a full scholarship. It's crazy. So I wrote my first book titled Purpose in Adversity. And it was essentially about growing up in a single parent home, essentially growing up in poverty, growing up in a small town, and seemingly when all odds are stacked against you. Really, it's not about the cards that we're dealt, but it's how we control the hand. It's how we play the cards. It's how we respond to it, because all of us can be victimized by, our circumstances, our situations, or what we're born into, what we're not born into. But I just believe that I maximized my potential, and I had some really influential coaches in my life at a very pivotal moment where I was missing pieces in other areas, but those coaches being in place and planting those positive seeds, those words of affirmation, for me was everything. And it helped me to be who I am today. And essentially, I think that's why I'm the coach that I am today, because of those people that I had that played a pivotal role in my life at a very young age.
Coming from a single parent home as well, talk about your relationship with your mom. What were some of the things that she implemented in your life at a young age that have now continued to bless you and help you get where you are today?
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest. It was hard watching my mom struggle because it was 5 of us. She had 2 sets of twins and my oldest brother. And it was just a lot. One thing that I could say I didn't appreciate it then, Dalen. I'm going to be honest. My mom was very hard on me.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm just like, why can't I go here? Why can't I do this? But she was protecting me. And I'm grateful to God for it because my friends were able to go and do and all these other things. And I couldn't understand why, but I'm so glad. I'm so grateful that she raised us in the church. I'm so grateful that she made us go to Sunday school. I'm so grateful for that upbringing because I'm going to be honest with you, when I got to college, and I had to stand on my own 2 feet. It was the foundation principles of my mom being hard and having rules and expectations that helped me be who I am today. Yes, I had to make my own choices. I made mistakes. We all make mistakes, but the foundation was everything. And so, in that growing up, I thought I was the victim. I thought, woe is me, my dad isn't in my life, we're struggling, this, and that. But honestly, like, it worked out for my good because it built a resilience. It built a grit and a grind in me that said, I'm going to have more. I'm going to do more. I'm going to make my mom proud. I'm going to go and finish college. I'm going to, be the blueprint for my younger siblings. I'm going to be the one that says, like, hey, we can do this. We can break, this generational cycle. And essentially, like, I know my mom is very proud, but I'm just grateful for her just not giving up, because it's hard. I'm not a single parent, but like all single parents, like, I have a deep passion for women or men who are raising their children on their own, because you and I both know it's not easy. So, yeah.
It's funny that you say that because my mom was the same way. And my mom is actually in town right now. I literally just had a conversation about her this morning because of some news in Memphis. And I was just like, as much as I complained about you growing up, I don't know where I would be right now without you. And so I love to hear that because I'm grateful for where I am, and I couldn't be where I am without my mom. So I love that. I want you to talk about now being a mother and a wife to your husband and to your son, Noah. What has that journey been like for you? What is kind of indulging in not only being a coach and a mother to your players, but now being a mom to your own child? And what has been a wife been like for you as well?
Well, I'll start off with being a wife because I grew up in a single parent home. And so I really never had a realistic view of marriage, a healthy marriage. And so for me, I mean, I look for love in all the wrong places, like growing up. And so now, like, being married, it's like, it's everything to me. And my husband and I, we strive to, do it the right way because he was the same way. Like, his parents were divorced and all this stuff. So he gets it. And so I'm just honestly grateful because my life is so hectic that God was kind and allowed me to marry someone who could help me fulfill out my purpose. And so now, as a parent, as a mom, it's like I get the redemption to see my son get the things that I didn't get with, having his dad in his life and, just a 2-parent home. And so we don't live through our son. We don't try to give him the things that we didn't have. However, we are strategic in our approach with making sure that he grows up in a healthy household. And so just having my husband and my son on the journey with me, coaching and being there for them, being there for my husband. He is a welder, and so he does a lot. And now he's in barbering school. He's always wanted to be a barber. So when we got the job here, he was able to get in barber school. So just being able to be his cheerleader now, because he's been my cheerleader the entire time of me being a coach. And just having those two on the journey with me has been amazing. I'm just going to continue to pour into my son like my mom poured into me, spiritual things, because I believe with all my heart that is the foundation principles that really are going to allow us to be able to withstand the tough times. So I'm excited and I love everything about being a mom. I don't want any more children, though. I don't. I'm going to be honest. My husband, he would take another one. But for me, I'm just like, no, I'm good with one. And I've always wanted a boy. So I'm grateful for Nash and being his mom and being the wife to Charles Andrew.
I love that. Coach, throughout your process in high school, I know you talked about you ended up going to Arkansas Tech, but was there a school that maybe you didn't get an offer from that maybe you really wanted to? Did you have a dream school, or what was your idea plan for calling out of high school?
So honestly, I was always a North Carolina Tar Heels fan because of Ivory Lotta. Like, loved her. I was a Tennessee fan. But as I got older, reality began to set in. It wasn't like D1 or bust for me. I was actually really interested in UAPB. Ironically, because some of my friends had played baseball there. My husband, actually, we weren't together then, but he played baseball there as well. And so I was very interested in them. And I had conversations with them, like after games, because we would play at Whitehall. And the coaches actually would come, but I don't know. There was a disconnect. And I'm not here to bash my high school coach, but I think there was a disconnect. For me, it's like the type of coach that I am, like, I strive to be that person because of the things that I didn't have. So that's why when I was a high school coach, I went really hard for my players. And things are different now, but, as far as like getting their film out there, reaching out to coaches, doing a better job, like with my connections and stuff like that. Again, not being bitter, but wanting to be better because of the things that I didn't have. So, like I said, North Carolina, Tennessee, but if I could be honest, I would have definitely loved to go to UAPB to play basketball.
Going to Arkansas Tech, was the transition hard for you to kind of be away from Crossett, I guess, for the first time and be on your own? Or was it, I know you talked about your relationship with your mom and how she indulged you. Was it an easy transition for you to kind of be away on your own at that point?
This is why it was easy. Although it was 3.5 hours from home, my first cousin, who's more like a brother, went there. He was in his senior year, my freshman year. He played baseball and football there. So I had already been on the campus, been to his games, like very familiar with it. And then a lot of my friends from high school, from my high school and from a neighboring high school at Hamburg had gone there too. So it was really cool. Arkansas Tech, I'm going to be honest, it brought me out of my shell. I know in high school, like I was on homecoming court, I was a homecoming queen and, quote unquote, the basketball star, the track star, but I was very insecure. So when I got to college, I began to find out who I was as a person. I began to, it really forced me to a place to not just hide behind the basketball. I began to, fall in love with me. Some of the insecurities that I had, when you go to college, it's like, man, we grown, so I began to, meet new people. And actually my roommate, Cassie Vaughn, she went to North Little Rock. She was amazing. She helped me a lot with my confidence. Just, being aware of, who I am and just loving even the flawed pieces of me. But something that you asked about, did my mom's raisins and teachings help me? It did, because on Sunday, we would play on Saturdays. We would get back late. On Sunday mornings, I would get up and go to church when my teammates didn't. And I was confident in going alone. So for me, I had a really rough spot in college at Arkansas Tech, had a really tough breakup with a guy that I met there. And I was in a really dark place, but it was because of my relationship with Christ and still getting up to go to church and praying, not necessarily through those things. Really helped me, and it led me to being able to transfer to Delta State, which was the best decision.
Yep. What was playing college ball like for you? What were some of maybe the big transitions from high school basketball to college basketball, and how did you adapt to those if they were really necessary for you to?
Can you ask that again? You froze. I'm sorry.
You're good. What was playing college basketball like for you at Arkansas Tech? What were some of the maybe transitions that were big from high school basketball to college basketball like?
Well, when I was in high school, like I was the primary everything, scorer, passer, like everything. And so when I got to college, Arkansas Tech was number 1 in the nation. My assistant coach, Julio Pacheco, amazing. I don't know. I get very emotional thinking about it. But he just helped me in so many areas of my life. The transition was tough because I went from playing all the minutes to not starting. But I understood. I didn't have any expectations to start when I came in, but I was the top newcomer. I played a lot of minutes on a nationally ranked team, but I went from being a scorer to a facilitator. I actually led the team in fewest minutes played, but led the conference in assist to turnover ratio. So they'll let you know how good we were. At first, I struggled a little bit with it because I was used to scoring, but my head coach let me know, hey, Shanae, I got, all Americans around you. Like when you get in a game, I don't need you to score. I just need you to facilitate. So once I fell in love with that, it was a smooth transition. And I transferred because the style didn't fit me. I see all these players and stuff like getting in the transfer portal now. Like, we didn't have NIL and all this stuff back then. So, I got a really good feel for the game. I was able to play for a nationally ranked team for those 2 years. But when I transferred to Delta State, I played for a coach who was a point guard. David Millick, he was the point guard at Ole Miss, but he had to weed out a lot of insecurities in me because when I got there, I just had a lot of mental issues as it relates to things that I went through playing basketball at Arkansas Tech. So my junior year, he he just had to help me get through those things. And I wrote about him as well in my first book. But I became a defensive specialist. Like, I played defense in high school, but when I got to college, it was like my Coach Midlick was like, listen, you quick, you fast, we're going to use that to our advantage. Like, you're going to be a lockdown defender. You're going to pick up people full court. And so once I fell in love with that, I'm like, okay, I like this, lead my, being the floor general, being the leader, being the captain, running the show, getting the basketball to Chelsea Rose, who played in Monticello, my teammate, letting her get her buckets, passing it to Seneca Walton, another All-American that I played with, Randy Ball, but also being the one that primarily was going to stop the best player on the other team, gave me a sense of pride. And so now, leading into being a coach, I love coaching my point guards. We're going to be tough. We're going to be gritty. Although I was 5'2", I had heart. Nobody was going to punk me. And so I think this helped me be the leader that I am today. Being able to be coached, being able to be pushed, being able to be uncomfortable, hearing those things that you don't want to hear, but also knowing that they're going to make you better. It honestly not only has made me a better coach, but a better professional, a better teacher, a better mentor, and being a person who's able to embrace accountability. Because nowadays, kids don't want to be held accountable. So for me, knowing that I had to take those things in and not think that I have it all figured out. But one thing that my coach did, he did it in love. He would kick me out of practice because I was being stubborn, but he would also come back and say, hey, you got this. I believe in you. I don't want you to think that you're bigger than the team. I just want to show you that this is where I'm trying to get you to go. And if you follow this, you'll be thankful for the outcome. And I'm glad that I did.
I would say coaching is something that I necessarily is at the top of my list that I want to do, but it's something that I do want to eventually get into, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you, because you just talked about a little bit of it, how important it is when you're recruiting a player to come play for you. How important is it for them to understand, for you to understand if they're coachable or not? And when I say that, you talk about how you understood your role at Arkansas Tech was to be the facilitator, maybe not the scorer that you were in high school. Mm-hmm. How important it is when you recruit someone to make sure that they're just not good at basketball, but they can maybe lead off the court. They're a good locker room player. They're good at different things that can allow them to not only elevate themselves, but elevate the entire team. What do you look for, and how important are some of those things when you're recruiting a player to come play for you?
Well, absolutely. When I go to the games, Daylon, I'm going to be honest, like, I'm watching your body language. I'm watching how you respond when you miss a shot. I'm watching how you respond to when your coach subs you out. Are you a good teammate? Do you make eye contact with your coach when he or she is talking to you? Do you high five your teammates? Those things tell me everything about your character. Are you looking in the stands, worried about what your parents or the fans saying? Are you arguing with the referees? Because for me, I'd rather take a kid that is not very skilled, but who's a hard worker, who's coachable. I'll take that any day because we can work on the skill and stuff like that. But I have had the success that I've been able to have by the grace of God. But secondly, like, having the right players in my system who are not selfish. Because you know how it is, like, everybody, like, I'll use our team, for example. Everyone that came on our team this year were the best player on their team. They were the MVP. So we had to have real conversations with them to let them know, like, everybody's role is not going to be able to you're not going to be able to score. Some of y'all are just going to be on here to, be utility players or be the best rebounder. But whatever that is, just do your best at that. And so just making them understand, hey, like, my role is important, whether I'm going to play 2 minutes, whether I'm going to play 40 minutes. Getting them to buy into that, because if you don't, the whole system, I don't care how much talent you have on your team. If you don't have high character people, if you don't have people who are going to be coachable, who are going to listen, the ship is always going to sink. It might float for a little bit, but essentially when adversity hits, if you do not have a tight knit team who's going to be coachable, who's going to listen to you, then it's not going to work. And I'm going to be honest, it's always an adjustment. It's not easy selling when you're having to tell these people who are used to scoring 30 in high school, who are used to taking every shot. It's not a smooth transition, but the more you be consistent and show them the why behind it and show them how much more their game is going to be impactful, once they add assists, once they add a few steals here, once they, their shooting percentage, is better because they're taking better quality shots, then, and showing them that it's a team and a quality effort. Because for us this season, one thing that I can say, we never had the same leading scorer every game. We had different people to step up at different times. And so when we were able to show our kids those numbers, and it made us tougher to recruit. It made teams tougher to scout us because it's like, well, we don't know whose night is going to be. And so when kids are able to see that and see the benefits of it, and then you have people, bragging on, our camaraderie and how, our bonds are and stuff like that, I think it helps. But you have to be, as a coach, you have to be consistent. You cannot sacrifice. And I tell my players this, like, nobody is bigger than this team. Like, I don't care how many points you put up. But you do have some coaches that they let their best players do whatever they want to do. Here at Coahoma, no. And I know it's, everybody says coaches have their favorites, which we do. And it's the ones who are going to listen. It's the ones who are coachable. It's the ones who have, respectful, who are great teammates, who are the coach's favorites. But if you can get a team locked in on that and on the same page, man, sky's the limit.
Coach, transferring to Delta State, how vital was that for your career and your life? And as well, going away from Arkansas for the first time, what was that move and transition like for you as well?
It was amazing. It was the best decision. I met an amazing coach, someone who is like a father figure. I think for me, bigger than the basketball piece, that was the biggest thing, being able to be coached by someone. It's funny because he doesn't even know how much I needed him. So many frail parts of my life, with my dad not being there essentially in some areas that I needed. My head coach, I get emotional talking about him, but just amazing. But the experience at Delta State was the absolute best. Building my relationships with my professors of the social work program, them being very pivotal roles in my life. And still now to this day, they still support me, still reach out to me. I remember when I was getting my doctorate, they both had their doctorate and they was like, we told you, you were next, blah, blah, blah. So just having them just in my life and the relationships that I built with some of my lifelong friends at Delta State, it was an experience that I try not to be biased because I've had players that have been offered by Delta State. Actually, one of my former point guards just committed there. And so, but Delta State is a very special place. Playing there, we were number 9 in the nation. Of course, you want to win, but being a 4-time conference champion, I think that's an opportunity that most don't get. And when people talk about Division IIs or just say D1 or bust, and I'm just like, well, I had, an experience, playing for 2 nationally ranked Division II teams and being able to be a 4-time conference champion, made it to the Sweet 16, 3 times, made it to the Elite 8 one time. Like, can't too many Division I players, say that, let alone Division II. And so the experience that I had was amazing beyond the basketball piece. And it led me literally to starting my coaching career. We had a basketball camp and I met this little girl. She walked up. You could tell she was so nervous, Daylon. I went up there, introduced myself to her, shook her dad's hand, never saw her dad again. We went through the camp for a week. She was like my little buddy. And believe it or not, a year later, her dad called me and said, hey, I know you don't remember me, but you took my daughter under your wing at y'all's basketball camp. And she talked about you and talked about you. He said, we have an open position for a head coach job. He said, would you like it? I was like, is this a prank? Like, are you serious? He was like, no, I'm serious. He was like, I know good people when I meet them, and my daughter just loved you. And he was like, but I'm going to tell you something. It's at a private school. It's in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Never been a Black coach. Never been a Black teacher. You would be the first. He said, you know how Mississippi is. He said, but I think you're the person for the job. And I'm just like, me? And I was like, I haven't graduated yet. I still have a semester. He was like, does not matter. We want you. I'm just like, well, I said, well, I'm majoring in social work. Like, I'm not even going to school to be a teacher. He said, that does not matter. And so for me, taking that job, I did not know that it would be connected to so many other aspects of my life. These people allowed me to live with them for the first 6 months until, I got myself together because, I never been to Clarksdale. I hadn't graduated college yet. I hadn't had my degree. And so they're like family. I mean, his name is John Cressman. He calls me his daughter. I call his daughters my sisters. Like, we're still very close. So for God to bring me back to Mississippi, to where I started my coaching career and now have my first college job, it's just, God is so strategic in everything. And so when we came back and moved back to take this job, all those people who were very pivotal in me starting my coaching career at Lee Academy are here today and have poured into my girls, into my program. And they didn't have to. So I say that to say Delta State was the best decision for my life. And had I not transferred to Delta State, I wouldn't be sitting in this seat that I'm sitting today. And so it's just amazing how God strategically puts us where we need to be. Because I'm going to be honest, like a lot of my friends and family, they didn't want me to go to Mississippi. My grandfather was like, no, you know how it is over there. You know how, it's very racist. It's very, it was just so many negatives. But I know with a shadow of a doubt that God told me that's the place for you to go. And so 12 years later, I'm back in Mississippi.
Yes, man, I love that. I'm going to come back to that, but I want to ask you something. I am a big music lover, and I to all different type of genres. I'm an old soul, so I want to ask you some of your favorite music artists, your favorite song. What is your music type like? And maybe maybe on game days, does your music taste change or anything particular like that?
Well, I love music as well. Like I'm old school. I love R&B. I love gospel. Maverick City is probably like my favorite. Like I love Maverick City. I mean, on game day, like in any type of mood you have, Maverick City can they gonna come through. No matter if you need to be up, no matter if you're sad, no matter if you want to worship, like whatever. I love Maverick City. R&B, I'm old school. Drew Hill, Jagged Edge, like them. That's I'm old soul. I love Tevin Campbell. But really any type of music that's like mellow and chill. My players, they love their rap. I love Lecrae. But I don't listen to much rap. But when I did, when I was in high school, like my go-to music, no lie, it was Lil Boosie. Like Set It Off had first came out when I was in the 8th grade. That was my song, that whole album. But yeah, I love country music too. I listen to country music. But yeah, I love music. Like for me, I don't watch much TV. So I listen to a lot of music. Whether I'm journaling, whether I'm just obviously riding in the car, in the shower, I'm listening to music. I love music. I can't sing, but I love music.
You're the first person, I promise you are, that has told me that they like country. Every other time I ask that question, it's always, I don't like country or not country though. So to hear you say that makes me happy because I'm a country person too. I listen to everything. So I love that makes me know that your music taste is very, very valid. I appreciate you.
Yes.
What was your first coaching experience like? What was it? Maybe a little bit of an uppercut to you? What were some of the learning challenges that you had to learn in the midst of being a coach now? Of course, because that wasn't planned for you. So what were some of the transitions, the challenges, but also what were some of the positive things that you got from your first 10 years coaching at high school?
The biggest challenge, because I was the head 7 through 12 without an assistant.
Wow.
So managing, and I coached all my kids the same because for me, it's like expectations are expectations. I'm going to be honest. I was 22 years old. And again, first and only Black coach and teacher. So for me, that was the biggest challenge, not because I was treated a certain way, but it was like, that was always in the back of my mind. So it's like, can I be tough? Can I be hard? Or, is this image going to be portrayed of me? But it wasn't. And I thank God. But as far as like in-game stuff, clock management, I didn't really call many timeouts. But the programs were very bad. Like they weren't used to winning. So when I got there, we was winning. And so none of that mattered. Like they just wanted somebody to come in and to believe in the girls and push them. And, it wasn't even about championships or anything like that. But we were able to do a lot of great things. But I think that was the biggest challenge for me, just managing the clock. I didn't call many timeouts. And that's whether we're blowing a team out or whether we're getting blown out. Like for me, because my coach didn't call many. He let us play through those mistakes. Everybody talks about Dawn Staley, how, she just give her players their look. And so I just had to learn that in the first few years. And once I got it, I got it. But I mean, the easy parts of it was I've always been a motivator. And for me, I think at that level, players need somebody that's going to believe in them, hold them accountable. But it's also about building them up, building their self-esteem and all those things. But I mean, I was a gym rat. I always loved getting in the gym. So getting my girls to, buy into that, when basketball wasn't serious, and now you got somebody who doesn't have kids, isn't married, not in a relationship. So that part became very fun, and being able to train them and watch their skills grow from 7th grade. And now I have them in the 10th grade. And it's like, wow, you have grown so much. But I think that was the biggest challenge. And also, too, not really caring about fans and what parents think or what they say in my first few years, even when I went back home, because it's hard to coach at home. I mentor a lot of young coaches, and they watched my journey back home and, the things we were able to do. But it was hard. I'll be honest, like that was probably, and I know this sounds crazy, but that was probably the most depressing, but also some of the happiest times of my life, because people were very critical of the things that I did. And I'm going to be honest, like I was very sensitive, because for me, it's like, man, it's my hometown. Like I didn't have to come back here. I'm coming back to build this community up, build this team up. We've won more than they won in the past 4 years. We beat Becky Brown, something that ain't been done. We got the first banner in 28 years. First, so for me, it's like, how can I be doing all these good things, and seemingly it's still something wrong? But I'm going to be honest, like I had to grow up and realize that's what comes with the territory. Like just because you're doing good things, it does not matter. You're always going to have those naysayers. So and it's still, I'm not going to say a struggle, but it's still, something that I'm navigating through because I know my heart is pure, but also realizing that the higher you go, there's going to be more adversity, and everybody is just not going to jam with you. Everybody is not going to how can I put this? Believe in the things that you're doing or agree with the cause that you're making. So just understanding that's what comes with the territory. I think that was the biggest challenge in my first 5 years of a coach. But now it's like, I'm in year 10. It is what it is.
I have always been a huge fan of women's basketball. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you to now be a part of it and see where it is elevated now today with, Carolina, Don Staley winning another national championship, Caitlin Clark taking over, LSU and Notre Dame, Stanford, so many teams that have just elevated where college women's basketball is. How refreshing is it for you to be a part of it, but also see women getting their respect and their flowers that they have deserved for a very long time? What does that mean to you, and how does it feel to see others get there, and as well as you get their flowers and recognition that they deserve?
Well, it's beautiful to see, because in every arena and every aspect, women take the back burner. They have to take the back seat. And so seeing, these young ladies being able to, they're all over social media. Everybody's talking about them, but not just women talking about women, but it's men that are recognizing, LeBron James, Steph Curry, all these, high profile names, men that are highlighting them. I think it's a beautiful thing. And also to, not to make it a race thing, but seeing the African-American coaches like do their thing. Like it makes me very emotional, because, it's representation, and it reminds me that, hey, if Don can do it, if, Coach Ivy can do it, if Coach Yo can do it, if all these other coaches can do it, I mean, hey, God is the same God that did it for them that can do it for you. And so it's just amazing. And even, in our small circle, Tamika Reed at Jackson State, I mean, amazing, very just monumental. And not just because of the wins, but just the way she does it, just gracefully does it. Seeing that and seeing it being recognized on a national level, not just, HBCUs. I think Gino talked about her, Kim Mulkey talked about her, which I'm a huge Kim Mulkey fan. Just seeing that it's just so refreshing, because, 10 years ago, it wasn't that, even though Pat Summitt was killing the game. You heard about women's basketball, Candace Parker and Maya Moore and all them, Diana Taurasi, Breanna Stewart, I mean, Skylar Diggins and all them, but I'm where it is now, where it's almost, I'm not saying replacing men, but it's like, it's right there with, men's basketball on the collegiate level anyway. It's beautiful. It really is.
It is. I go to Ole Miss and I tell people, Coach Hill was a really big part of me saying that I wanted to go to school here. And she was. I've been able to connect with her and learn from her. And I am just a bit at all who she is as a person, but not only that, what she's able to do for the community as well. So I want to ask you, you've talked about your book and your public speaking. Why is it so important for you to do things that not only is changing your life, but it's changing the people and the peers around you as well?
Yeah, I've always known my life isn't my own. Essentially, just serving, that social work degree just helped me realize on a wider scale that everything that we do essentially is not for us. It's to help other people. It's to serve. It's to give back. So I tell my players all the time, it's funny because they're like, man, my coach an author, man, my coach a motivational speaker. And it's not to hype me up, but it's like, man, if my coach can do that. And I also have always wanted my players to know you can do more than just play basketball. It's so many other areas. Basketball for me was the vehicle, but writing books, becoming an entrepreneur, one of the first in my family is like, I want to leave a legacy where people won't just say, oh, she just coached the game, or she just dribbled a basketball. No, it's just so many other things where basketball has helped me. And so I'm able to go and use my voice for those that don't have a voice, or to advocate for other people. That's why, I was so insecure. I hated my voice. I hated the way it sounded. And so now to be a motivational speaker and to be asked to come in and to, mentor and uplift and, speak to different groups, it's just amazing. And so I challenge, those around me, those connected to me, those that may watch me from afar, to know that dream big, go after it, whatever it is. I never thought, I had desires of writing a book, but one would have told me I would have written 4 and, they'd be featured in Walmart and all these other things. I was like, no, I think I'm just going to be a counselor, get my degree in social work. But again, it's essentially for other people. It's essentially to help them see that, hey, man, if Shanae Govan-Williams can do it, like I can too. She came from a small town. She grew up, with a single parent, but she's able to do all these other things and, have this type of life. And so that's something that I want to do too, because I can identify with her. I see myself in her. So again, it's not about me, but it's for those connected to me and who see through my lens and see themselves through my lens.
Yes, ma'am. I want to go back, talk about going back home to Crossett. How did that opportunity come about to you? And as well, being back home, being the name now in that town and even in the state, did you feel any pressure once you got back home and understood what your role was now? And if so, how did you adapt and learn to be able to mesmerize that pressure?
Well, it's funny because I didn't apply for my first job at Lee Academy. I didn't apply to go back home to Crossett. The superintendent, kind of like the similar situation. Superintendent called me, never met him. People threw my name around. I think the job had been open for a few months. So he called me up. We met and talked for about 4 hours, and he offered me the job on the spot. But I had a piece about it. There was no pressure because prior to me taking over, the team had only won, I think, 2 games in the past 3 years. So it was no pressure at all. And I was the only, at that time, young lady that had signed a basketball scholarship. So I went back in 2017. I graduated in 2010. So in that 7-year span, and before me, I was the first. And so having the opportunity to go back and to pour into my community, that's where I started my mentoring program, Level Up Empowerment. So it was like I said previously, it was hard, not pressure, but once we started winning, that's when the pressure came. My first year, we won 2 games. We went 2-21, my high school team. My junior high team, we won the conference. So, I knew I had a good group coming up. Second year, varsity, we won 13 games, I think. So that's 11 more games. So as we began to win, and then the next year we went to state, and that's when we beat Coach Yarbrough. And it's like, the more success we got, the fans started, the pressure, and, then they started to, be a little, I don't know. I still try to process all of that because I was so young. And it was just a lot. It was a lot emotionally. And I was in the midst of trying to get my certification. So I had to go back and get my master's. So it was pressure on me in that. I was given 3 to 5 years to pass my certification test. I've always struggled with taking tests. But going back, it was just a testament of what God had said and what he had spoken over my life. And it was literally building me for where I am today, building that tough skin. Because like I said previously, I was so sensitive. And so I feel like I was sent back home to be put in the middle of the fire, but to come out fireproof, if that makes sense. To build my self-esteem, to build my confidence, and to give back to a community that loved me, that embraced me. But I had to go through some things to get there. And so leaving Crossett was very, very tough. It was tough, but I knew it was time. Which I know you didn't ask about that, but it was tough, but it was time.
What enabled you to start your mentorship program? And I say this because Courtney Williams is my cousin, and she speaks very highly of you, and she has gone so far at a young age as well to where she is now. What enabled you to start your mentorship program, and what was your goal when you did start it? Like, what did you do? You have any any things on your checklist that you feel like this needed to be done to make sure we're establishing a foundation for what we do?
I don't know if that's my then. I had other girls also that weren't on the basketball team that would come to me and be like, Coach G, can I talk to you? You know, they would come to my room. Coach G, can I talk to you? So I was like, okay, God, let's start it. Level up. That's what we're going to call it. Let's level up. And so I had sponsors in the community, Christy Stoker, and then Crystal Marshall, who wasn't the mayor at the time, but who's the mayor now. Dr. McDonald, like them wanting to sow into it. So, I mean, it took off. Like literally it went from something that was just in Crossett to now Hamburg's principal called me and said, hey, like, I see you starting Level Up there. We need this here in Hamburg. So I went there like in months, launched a Level Up group there. From there, boom, we went to Warren. We went to Monticello. It was just crazy in a small amount of time, like how it grew. And I still try to process it like, man, I was a basketball coach, head basketball 7 through 12, head track and field coach 7 through 12, and the founder of a mentoring program of 4 local cities, like in a year's time. And it's like, wow, God. But I never was overwhelmed. I never was weighed down because my mentoring program and my basketball and my track, they all coincided. So when we would go to basketball games or go play another team, like the other girls would wear their Level Up shirts and we had them color coded. So Crossett was it was red, Hamburg was blue, Warren was yellow, Monticello was purple. So when we would meet up, it's just amazing. It just blew up. But to hear those young ladies to come together and be on one accord and share their stories and just pour into each other and love on each other, because girls can be mean. I mean, but I'm bringing all them together to know that you're more than a conqueror. You're beautiful. You're fearfully and wonderfully made, building them up with the word of God, because honestly, that's what's kept me. And also them understanding, I know y'all need me, but I need y'all just as much because I'm growing. I'm shedding some things, I'm healing from some things as well. And we created a sisterhood that was just amazing. But I think the most beautiful part about it is the people that became feet to it and that helped me like with sponsorship and getting T-shirts and feeding us. They didn't have one kid a part of my mentoring group. They were just people in the community that wanted to help. Denise McMillan, who's a lawyer, she helped. Always giving, always. So like, I knew it was nobody but God. And that's why I try to encourage people. When you have a vision or you have something, that's why I appreciate you so much for doing this. Like, this is amazing. And I know it's starting, like, you probably think, man, it's small right now, but it's going to blow up. Like, you're going to be a household name. Like, everybody's going to know about the Dalen Show. So I just commend you for, going after your dreams and pursuing it, because you don't see many people doing that. Because I think also, too, social media has fabricated success, and I tell my players all the time, it's more than one way to the top. There's no secret formula to success. As long as you got a vision, you have a plan, and you got to have ambition to go after it. And it's okay. Never demise small beginnings. And so, and I'm still really close with those girls now. It's crazy that probably 60% of them I did not coach them in any part. Most of them were just young girls who wanted someone to pour into them and who needed something to help them, essentially discover their true identity. So.
How hard was it to leave Crossett? And as well, as for people that may not know, Bryant High School is one of the most known and biggest schools in the state. What was that initiation like for you at Bryant? So those are my two questions in one. How hard was it to leave Crossett, but also as well going to a new foundation in Bryant, it being so high in podium, how hard and maybe the challenges you had to face there?
So after Crossett, I actually went to Magnolia. I was pregnant. I was pregnant with my son. It's crazy. And Magnolia was in our conference. Magnolia, although I was there for 1 year, was the most beautiful experience. We finished 23-6. It's the first time in my career I beat Becky Brown, beat her twice for the conference championship. Just the relationships, the pouring out of love and support. It's almost like in that 1 year, God he just made up to me for some of the things that I went through back home in 1 year. And, going to a new place where it's not familiar, you don't know these people, you know of them, but you don't know them. But for them to love me and to embrace me and my family the way that they did was amazing, like so amazing. So fast forward, I got a call about that job as well to go to Magnolia. And then so we did well. We made it to the state tournament won our first conference championship for the first time in 12 years. Made it to the state championship. I mean, not the state championship, but to the state tournament for the first time in 12 years. And then advanced to the second round of the state tournament for the first time in school's history. So it was a lot riding on that. So I knew people started talking like, man, you finna start getting phone calls and all this other stuff. Lo and behold, I get a phone call from the head men's basketball coach at Bryant, who I didn't know. He called me. He was like, hey, we got a job opening. I've watched you on social media. I want to help, our school land somebody really good. I'm just going to shoot you our AD's contact information. Do you mind talking to him? So I thought about it, but, it's in the highest classification. I mean, big names, Conway, North Little Rock Central, all that, Cabot. All these heavy hitters are in this conference. I'm like, I don't know. We just had a great year in Magnolia, although I'm losing 7 seniors, got a really good young group coming up. I asked my husband, what did he think? He was like, just go talk to him. I went and talked to him. They offered me the job on the spot. And I'm just like, what? First Black coach in school's history. That job was tough. It was really tough. Not because of the talent, not because it was just tough. It was very hard. That was the first time that I really questioned if I could coach or not. That was the first time where I measured myself if I was good enough. And we had success. We finished 15-11. That's a winning record. It was better than the previous coaching that his last year, and he had been there for a while. But it was so many other intangibles connected to that job where I really struggled with my confidence. I did. Great relationships within the community. They supported me. Supporting my books, like all that was good. But that job, out of the 5 schools that I've coached at, was one of the ones where, how sometimes you question if you're good enough, if you're good enough for the seat. And I'm still, even now, a year later, still trying to, I process sometimes like, what was that? I don't know if it was because my assistant coach, if, that had something to do with it, because she was with the former coach for like 8 years. And so, me coming in new and, I really don't know what it was, but it was different. It was different. I mean, good experience. But I had a lot of learning lessons out of it, a lot of teachable moments that I got from that. But it was good. I think it shocked a lot of people. They're like, what? Bryant hired a black coach. They were so happy. It was people coming out showing, love. Mike Lee was an amazing, amazing, amazing athletic director. One of my good friends, Santrika Johnson, is there now coaching. So being able to go there and work with her was really good. But the experience was different. I'll say that. It was different. I wasn't mistreated or anything. Like, the people were nice. It was just different. And I don't know if it was because everyone knows it as a football school, which it was a football school. And I came from Magnolia, where it was completely different. It was polar opposite. It was strictly basketball. It was the era of Darian Ford, his senior year. So, we had all that love and support. And so I go from that to now I'm stepping into a program that's not well known and that hasn't, primarily been winning because of the North Little Rocks and the Conway. So I don't know. It was different. It was different. But it was a good experience, just different.
I was going to ask you, and I apologize for kind of misleading about the Magnolia part. What was it like? Because you just talked about it, and that's very important, that Magnolia is such a basketball school. It's known for its basketball. The hype around the town is basketball. Coming into that position, where did you see yourself going with the program? And eventually, once you got the ropes, how did it take off for you?
It took off immediately. I mean, when I tell you, I have never been embraced since day one like I was when I went to Magnolia. I knew it was going to be special. And mind you, I was pregnant. Like, when I took the job, I was 7 months pregnant with my son. And I knew life was going to be different, being a mom and all that. But the support, I mean, the superintendent, John Ward, we were very, very, still very close. Chris Carter, the principal. So I had the admin. They had my back. And they did at Crossett as well. I was really close with our superintendent, Gary Williams, at Crossett. But again, these are not familiar faces. These are people that just watch me from afar. So for them to come after me and to embrace me and to help my family find a home, I mean, it was amazing. And the parents, the love that they gave me, it's like they were just ready, and the kids were hungry, and it was just, I cannot explain it. It's almost like it was a dream, because that 1 year, I have never felt as appreciated and valued from start to finish. Even when I announced that I was leaving, they were hurt, but they understood. It wasn't like it was like they understood the aspirations that I had. So they understood, okay, Bryant is the highest classification. That's the highest she can go. We love her enough to support her. We love her enough to be happy for her. So once we started winning, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, everyone knows about Darian Ford and how packed their games were and stuff like that. Our games was just as packed. I mean, and they start chanting LPB, LPB. 2 minutes down, the game is about to end. They're chanting, and I'll never forget this. This will always state tournament. Second round, we're playing Farmington, who were state runner-up that year. We're playing Farmington. We're down. We're about to lose. A minute left on the clock. And everyone in the gym, including Farmington's fans, stood on their feet and gave my team a standing ovation, chanting LPB, which meant Lady Panther basketball. And my heart I was like, who does this? You're about to coach your last game on this court. Y'all are hosting the state championship. But because of the love they have for you and the appreciation they have for your program, everyone's going to stand on their feet. I mean, the gym was and so for me, it's like that experience that I had in Magnolia will be one for the books. It'll be one that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Granted, I'm thankful for Crossett. I'm thankful for Lee Academy. I'm thankful for Bryant, and even where I am now in Coahoma, but Magnolia will forever be a special place. I mean, I think it's because that was the first time I coached at a place that loved basketball, fully loved basketball. It wasn't just essentially a football school. So just to have their love and support, and they still support me to this day. It was amazing.
to wrap things up where you are now, from being in college to being a high school coach, going to Bryant, now where you are today, do you have an end goal at all? And if so, what is your end goal?
Yeah, I want to be a head Division I basketball coach. It doesn't matter where. I would prefer to I want to stay in the South, but yeah, I want to be a head D1 coach. When or if that'll happen, I don't know. But I'm grateful for where I am now. I love Coahoma. I love the HBCU experience. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know how that was gonna go because you hear stereotypes and stuff like that, but I love it. And so I'm just going to follow the lead of God. But my heart's desire is to coach on the Division I level. It's crazy. I've never been an assistant coach. I've been a head coach for 10 years. And that in itself is crazy. So, but in whatever capacity God would have me to serve, I would love that. I mean, if I get an assistant position on the D1 level, I would definitely take that. I'm not one, how some people are not humble or, have so much pride. No, that's not me at all. I just want to serve wherever he leads me. But that's my end goal overall. And after I stop coaching, I don't think I'll coach for the rest of my life. I want to get back into social work. I want to, because I was in mental health. So I love that aspect of social work. So essentially, I'm getting my doctorate in rural and diverse leadership. And so I want to be able to use that in some capacity. I'm still trying to figure out how. But yeah, that's my overall end goal as it relates to coaching and my career path, for sure.
Would you mind giving a piece of advice to women and men that are in high school right now and are aspiring to play basketball in any form at the college level? What advice would you give to them trying to make it to the next level of basketball?
Work hard. Work for everything that you want. And whatever opportunity you're given, maximize it. I don't care if it's at the JUCO level, NAI, D1, D2, D3, whatever. Maximize the opportunity that you have because essentially basketball teaches you so much about life. It's so much bigger than the sport. And I think if student athletes embrace that, embrace being held accountable, embrace doing things on their own, don't always just look for your coach to open the gym. Be willing to go the extra mile to get the things that you desire. And I'm going to be honest, we live in a world now where student athletes can get what they want on their own. They don't need their coaches anymore. They can create a Twitter page. Me and my assistant coach, we stay on Twitter looking at, highlights that kids have posted. You can be your best recruiter. You can help yourself get recruited. So don't necessarily just look for people to do things for you. At all costs, if you got to get it done yourself, do that and know that sky's the limit as long as you're willing to work for everything that you want. Do not expect handouts because that's essentially not how life is, set up. So I just want to encourage any student athlete that desires to go and play sports, go after it with all that you have. Even if you hit a brick wall, you still got to keep going. You still got to get up because it's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. And like I tell all my players, everything that you want is on the other side of hard.
I want to, before I get kind of to closing in, I want to ask you, what inspired you to write your own book? And as well, kind of see it take off. When you talked about it being in Walmart and people reach out to you about it and ordering. What is it how does that feeling feel to be an author and also be notably known for your book and the words of encouragement that you spread to other people's lives?
So I used to journal a lot when I was in high school, whether it was about, why my dad wasn't there or, me missing my dad after he just dropped me off at home. Or, just feelings that I had. And so when I was 22, I just started back journaling. And I was like, man, I can make this a book. And then I started writing and writing and writing. And I reached out to a self-publishing company. And it took off. Like, it took off so fast. I didn't realize I would have that much support. But I tell people all the time, everyone has a story. And writing is not hard. If you have a desire to write a book, it is so easy. And so now, where I am now in Walmart featuring my books and people reaching out to me, it's just amazing. It's amazing that my story and my brokenness and the adversity that I face, and also to my perseverance and people being inspired by my faith, it's just amazing. It just helps me to be reminded that God, in all his infectious wisdom, he just orchestrated my story. Like, he knew that this was going to be what he had for me. And I'm grateful that I said yes. I'm grateful that he chose me. And I'm grateful that other people who are not just coached by me, but who are able to be blessed by my books are being helped by my yes. So it's really cool. It is. It's cool.
One of the things that actually I want to ask you this first.
Mm-hmm.
You could have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive. Who would they be and why?
Mm-hmm. Dawn Staley, for sure. She's just the GOAT. I would just want to pick her brain about how she's navigated through everything, the success, people attacking her, just all that, and how she's just, created a dynasty and doing it her way. That's one thing that I admire about her so much. Second person, Steve Nash. Infatuated with him. Obviously, my son's name is Nash. I've always loved Steve Nash. Amazing point guard. I would just want to talk to him about, I don't know, it wouldn't even have to be basketball, but I would love to meet him, sit down and talk to him. Third person, Michelle Obama. I would love to sit down and talk to her and just, I don't know, she's just an amazing woman. Just to get some marketing ideas from her and just hear her story. Her book, Becoming, is an amazing read. Who else? Fourth person. Michael Jordan. I would like to meet Mike. Not just to ask him any questions about basketball, just to meet him. Like, it would be cool sitting at the dinner table with him. And the fifth person, that's a tough one. I don't know. That's tough. You put me on the spot. No, I would like to meet and sit down and have dinner with Johnny Taylor. She's another head coach who I feel like I'm inspired by her. Just to ask her questions about, navigating through, being a head coach and being a mom. I follow her really closely. And I hate it took me so long to think about her, but she's another pioneer who I've watched and, be a mom, be a head coach, and be a wife. So yeah, those are my 5.
I love that. Those answers are always different, and they always are a different testament to the people that I have conversations with. So I appreciate you for saying that. And I've never even thought about Steve Nash. That would be a really good person to pick my mind from. So I really love that answer. I've met Dawn Staley, and she was one of the kindest people I've ever met. So I love that answer too. Donna's been amazing in just basketball in general. So I love that answer too. One of the questions that I asked, but kind of before wrapping things up, there's 2 questions in one, and you've talked kind of about both. So I know your answer may be kind of swayed as well, but if you could give one piece of advice, and not about basketball, but just life in general to people watching and listening, what piece of advice would you give to them? And as well, I'm big on legacy and making sure I'm doing things that I'm making people proud and I'm leaving a good legacy behind. What is your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be? When people hear the name Shanae Williams, what do you want them to know or remember about you?
Mm-hmm. So the one piece of advice that I would give people who are just striving in life is to never give up, because essentially everything that we desire to have, again, is on the other side of hard. It's not going to be easy, but it's always worth it once you persevere. And once you obtain those things, it's worth it. It's worth it in the end. And adversity, it definitely does build character, and there is purpose in adversity. So just wanting those people to believe in themselves and to know that God is so kind and so strategic with everything that he allows to transpire in our lives. We just have to understand that it might not always make sense, but once you get to the other side of that, whatever it may be, then you'll understand why you had to go through the way you go through. Because it's easy for us to be the victim. It's easy for us to victimize ourselves or, ask, why did this happen or why didn't that happen? So just understanding that it's important to be willing to press beyond the hard place. Secondly, I would want my legacy to be that Shanae Govan-Williams believed in me. When I tell my players all the time, I don't ever want them to get to their necks and say that Coach Williams failed me or Coach Williams didn't prepare me for this. So I want to be one that's known to be an ambassador, be someone that poured into people, that treated them kindly, and someone that left people in my presence better than the way when they entered.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Of course, believe it or not, I'm not really emotionally intelligent. So hearing some of the things that you say and we relate to got me a little emotional. So I want to say thank you for sharing your wisdom. That was the point of me starting this show. And I'm so glad that we got to connect and we're able to do this. One more thing I want to ask you, if you don't mind, could you share your social medias with people so they can follow you, reach out, or anything if they want to follow you as well?
Yeah, all of them are the same. So my Twitter is Shanae Govan-Williams. My Instagram is Shanae Govan. My Facebook, Shanae Govan-Williams. Yeah, so all of them are the same for people that want to follow.
I appreciate that, Coach, again. Thank you so much. It was a joy to hear from you, learn, have with you as well. I can't thank you enough for being able to do this for me.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I expect bigger things from you. I'm looking forward to following your journey. This is really awesome what you're doing.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you learn as much as I did. I hope you take a piece of her wisdom and journey and use it hopefully in your lives to help better yourselves, and take a look at from her book as well. I promise you can learn and will learn a lot from her as you did in this interview. So I hope you guys enjoyed and laughed a little bit. As always, take care and God bless. See you guys soon.